Hi, and welcome to another edition of Great British Churches. Today we are visiting St Mary Magdalen Church in Bildeston, which is in Suffolk and probably about 8 miles from the county town of Hadley, 4 or 5 miles from Lavenham. Now this church, it's a bit unusual, but quite ornate. A lot of money's been spent here over the centuries. This church would have got its wealth from the local area, from the wool trade, such as Lavenham, and the money was the wool was made into broadcloth and sold to Europe in the Middle Ages, and this brought this part of the world a great deal of wealth. Having a look there, if you can have a look, there's the tower. Bit unusual, wooden top tower, because it collapsed in 1975. Mel will tell you more about that inside because it's quite big part of this church's history. But as you can see, beautiful stone, again flint, rubble in between. But if you look, there's a lot more stone in this than a lot of the smaller, like little parish churches or manorial churches. Let's go through the doors. Now there's a porch with a room up there, but just trying to the porch was sealed up. There's a room up there, but it's not been used since the 1850s, and we'll show you more of that from the inside. So here we come into this porch. There is some really exquisite carving in this church, and if we have a look here, you've got crowns. I expect some of that's been replaced over the centuries. Got roses, crowns, lions. And interestingly, there's shields here, but there's nothing left other than graffiti on them. They've been smoothed off. The door is 14th or 15th century. I think that's just amazing. It's hard to think, isn't it? A door can be 400 or 500 years old. I'm going to pass you over to Mel now.
Right, so we're now in the church. I just want to tell you a little bit as we just walk round quickly about the history of the area. This church is not an easy one to find. You have to go actually into Bildeston Centre itself and then turn down a very little lane. Bildeston is one of the 16 place names in Suffolk that actually has a Danish personal name compounded with an Anglo-Saxon ton. So this indicates that the Angles established a farming community here sometime in the 6th century, and after East Anglia was settled by Danish soldiers as part of the Dane law. A leader builder took over in about the year 1880, and the oldest extant written record of Bildeston is in the Domesday Book of 1086. Now this actually stands on original settlement, which is on top of the hill. But I don't know if Paul said anything about the tower. It fell down in 1975, and so we've now got that wooden one that's up there. But when it fell, it was revealed that there was Norman tool marks in the limestone that had fallen. The church also has signs that a master mason, Hawes of Rockhold, created the 15th century nave arcade. So if you just have a look at those, you can actually see exactly how beautiful they are. The piers have got this carved top to them, and there's like little faces in there. They've all got their arms crossed. And then if you have a look up, right in the apex of the arch, I don't know if you're going to be able to make that out, but there's some sort of angel, and that's in all of them. There's corbels up there underneath the roof beams. It is a beautiful, beautiful church. And it's the size of it is because of the woolen cloth industry. It was very big here. Right, I'm just going to through that curtain there. That's where the tower is, or what's left of it. And I'm just going to take you over to this picture over here, where you can see what happened. Now, apparently in 1975, there was some work going on with the bells, and the tower collapsed. possibly due to the work that was on there. You know, we see a lot of things happening because work is done on things. You know, you take things like Windsor Castle, that caught light because of a workman had left something on. So the village moved away from this church because there was a guy called Matthew de Lovay, and he obtained a market charter in 1264 where a new trading area next to the main highway was set up. And gradually the population of the village moved to be nearer that location. So that's really why there is houses here. There's the odd one or two. There are a few notable people in Bildeston. In 1066, Edith, Queen consort to Edward the Confessor, had a manor nearby to this church. William Dowsing, who was the great iconoclast in the Civil War, he was married here in 1649 to a widowed daughter of a Bildeston doctor. And there's a Captain Edward Rotherham. He actually died here and he lies buried in the churchyard. And he was on a visit to his friend Richard Wilson. And he died in, don't know when he died, but he was in the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 on a boat called the Royal Sovereign.
Not the Richard Wilson.
No. And there's a Robert John Hobart. Now, he was the son of a village schoolmaster, and he became an artist in equestrian scenes. But probably the most famous of people to live in Bildeston is Roddy and Reggie Cray. Believe it or not. They had two houses here. One they bought for their parents, and a bigger one that they bought for themselves. And I believe they were arrested in 1968. And shortly after they were imprisoned for life, they sold it. And when they were asked, I think it was Ronnie, was asked when he was in prison why he sold it, he said, well, I'm in here for life. I'm not going to need it anymore. And that's why they sold it. You can't argue with that, but they liked the area because during the Second World War, they were evacuated to Hadley, not far off the high street there. And they loved it because they had so much fun with this lady doing apple scrumping and all sorts. So when they made enough money, they bought these two houses. So that's enough of the local history. So back to the church. So as you can see from this plaque up here, the church tower fell down in 1975, and it was doubtful as to whether it was ever going to be rebuilt. They built the one up there out of wood, and it was helped by the lottery funding. So we've got that there. And that's the doorway to the tower. Now, we have got a 15th century font here, and it is described as a typical East Anglian font. And as you can see, it is heavily vandalised, damaged, whatever you want to call it, which is a shame. But it's probably part of the Reformation. You know, as William Dowsing was here, he probably knew of the church. He probably did come in here and say, you can't have this, that, and the other. Right, up. I can't really see it from here, but I'll try and show that to you. There are still some angels up in the ceiling. I'm going to try and get a bit nearer to them so you can see them. So we're going to go up here. Now, it did have a rood screen. A church of this size, it would have been foolish not to have had a rood screen, really. Or you can see an angel up there with her wings out at the top of that arch. Just bear with me and I'll get you up there. So as you can see, up the top of that arch, underneath the clerestory windows, you can see an angel. And there's a little chap up there. He's got his hands clapped in prayer. He looks quite happy, I think. So, and up here.
Oh, did you talk about the font?
Yes. Up there, that tiny window, the quatrefoil window, that is sort of up there. It's a circular Sanctus Bell window. So then it's got the quatrefoil cusping there.
What was the sanctus bell then? We'll look that one up.
We will look that one up. He does this to me. Have you noticed he asks me these random questions because he knows I won't know the answer?
I found root screen.
Good. We will talk about that in a moment. You can see from these windows here, they're in the perpendicular style. Now, this is a much later church than what we've seen so far. The walls are a lot thinner.
1304, the first rector.
1304 was the first rector. So, it's had a church here for a very long time, but obviously over time it's had new extensions put on it, it's been rebuilt. So we've now got something that's a little bit younger than, say, Washbrook that we'd done a little while ago, because you can see that the walls are not as thick as other churches. And the thinner the walls, the later the church. So up here, we've got the access to the rood loft. And like most churches, the rood loft no longer exists. And down here is a memorial slab. I'm just going to go up there and see if we can find out who it is. It's rather an austere Elizabethan lady. And it says here, lieth buried William Wade of this parish and one of the Hay constables of this 100, who had to wife Alice Boggis, by whom he had 6 children living at his decease, 2 sons, viz. William and Robert, and 4 daughters, Alice, Anne, Joanne, and Mary, and died the 19th day of February 1599. I would imagine that he would have had a brass memorial as well, but unfortunately it's gone and it's just his good lady wife there. So, moving on. Right, now we're going to go into the chancel. There's the big fella. And we've got 6 stalls for the choir. We've got 3 that side and 3 that side. And you can see we've got this really big organ just tucked away into the north aisle there. And that roof up there looks quite old as well. So we're just going to make our way up here. There is a door that goes into that part where the organ is. Unfortunately, it is locked. And then we come up to the altar. I really struggle showing you stained glass windows because the light just comes through and I never know how it comes out. But it's absolutely beautiful. It's got all sorts going on in there. And it's in memory of Rear Admiral James Horsford Coburn, Commander-in-Chief of somebody's forces, who died at Government House, Calcutta, February the 10th. I think that's 1872, it could be 1672, I can't really see that. And it's presented by the officers who served under his command, And the work, something, dockyard at Trincomalee. Trincomalee, thank you, Paul. He's always behind when I need the help, isn't he? And then we've got another stunning glass window there. And if he wants to, he can read that out.
Which one do you want to read?
But here,
that's incredible, isn't
you've got a triple sedilla. I quite like the little box there. Was it for someone short? Is that for? I don't know what that's about.
Who would sit in there? Who would we be talking
It would
about?
be things like the clergy, anybody who was going to be doing the mass. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have choir boys or anything like that. It would be clergy people that would be there.
I don't know if you've picked it up. There's some incredible floor tombs here. There's some more. One of the best in Suffolk is around the corner. I'll show you that in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, they are amazing. They really are. I used to think they had brass inserts, but I'm now doubtful as is.
These ones won't.
No, I can't see any holes where they would have been stuck to it.
There is some under the carpet. There's some around the corner I can show you.
Yeah.
Oh, black. I missed this one. Let's just have a look.
I got a nice heater there, modern.
I think they're dehumidifiers, I think. These are beautiful.
So, to the glory of God, in loving memory of our dear sister Alice, wife of the Reverend Cray, rector of this parish, who died on her birthday, May the 4th, 1923. I wonder if they took the presents back.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to say that. Right, it's a priest's door here, by the looks of things. And it looks like they've had some sort of work. It's been redesigned somehow.
Emergency exit. Look at that door, look.
That is old.
That is, I just said on camera, the door and the porch must be 15th century.
Yeah, that is.
That's a bit of oak. That has been a bit of oak a long time.
I'm not sure how it's going to be an emergency exit. It looks like it's been barricaded up somehow.
That could be right. You never know.
And the tiles on the floor here, they're probably not that old. What, 18th, 19th century, but absolutely exquisite.
It's a stunning church. I mean,
it is.
It oozes money.
And for him to say this is good, it's got to be good, because he doesn't really like ornate big churches. He likes the little ones.
I'd like a chapel in the middle of the field in a swamp somewhere where the ordinary folk have been.
Chipped walls, bit of rough plaster, and he's well away. This one is a little bit too neat. I wouldn't have thought he'd have liked it, but he does.
No, this one's got electricity, hot and cold running with church wardens, you know, all sorts.
We've got an amazing window coming up here. So again, I've seen the perpendicular style, and I'll leave him there for a minute. Did you say this was the rood screen here, or what was left?
There's a rood screen left, and this tomb here. If I can just read it to you. Do you want to point the camera down? Because this one has a corker.
Okay.
Do you want me to hold the camera for a sec?
Okay.
Let's read it from the top. Look, I'm very good at my old English. Let's put my glasses on. Under the stone, awaiting the last day, are buried the remains of Benjamin and Elizabeth Brundish. He, with the approbation of both patron and people, by which he was trusted and loved as its pastor throughout the space of